Hello everyone, Gaara here and welcome to a brand new deck tech video. Today I'm gonna talk about this Ramp Druid deck that I was playing not just on ladder but also in some more of the recent tournaments, and that was a list. It originally was built by Hoy and then Osaka brought it to Insomnia, and as a lot of you guys know, I'm like a die-hard Ram Druid player. I play it since the very beginning, basically since the very first Ram Druid list, which I came up with actually. And it's a very interesting deck, and this is like one of the best version that you can go for if you want to play Ram Druid. I'm not so sure if it's fitting for the meta anymore, just because of the buffs to Zoo, Shaman and Tempo Mage, especially Tempo Mage. If you remember GVG, Tempo Mage was a really powerful deck versus Druid in general, and I think it is coming back to that status where Tempo Mage just really hard counters Druid, and the popularity of Tempo Mage is rising steadily on the ladder, and this is why it kind of pushed me away from playing this version of Druid. But nonetheless, this is like the updated Karazhan version with the Moonglade portal, so I'm just gonna go over the list. I discussed the changes with Osaka and if you would agree on it. What got replaced in the original list is Savannas mainly, which got replaced with a Moonglade portal. But overall, it's the standard Ram Druid cards, the in a way double wild growth, Raven Idol, yes, Raven Idol as well. It's a very high chance to get a ramp from the idol, so you consider this also one of the ramp cards. But if you don't get a ramp card, you just go for something that is fitting for the matchup. If you're facing a Zoo deck or a Shaman deck, you're gonna look for ramp primarily. But if you don't get it, you just go for a Ref or Living Roots or a Swipe, something that just helps contesting the board early on, or just a clear if the board gets out of control. So we have the Living Root, just a great card if you go first to have something on the board, so you can even utilize your hero powering combination to get rid of the smaller minions. Fel Rage, you can use that to take out totem golems, but later on it is a stabilizer. It provides you a heal for 8 for just 3 mana. It's also pretty good against freeze mages, just hunters, just burst damage in general. So you play 2 of those, which is not very commonly seen in a Druid deck. Mulch as a removal, because this deck basically always goes to late game or even fatigue, you're forced to play some sort of hard removal for the opponent's big threats, because if you are playing a matchup against, let's say, Ends of Paladin or Control Warrior or something like that, you need cards to take out Katoons or just similar big minions like Ragnaros. And since BGH got nerfed so much, you kind of just have to play something. You cannot just rely on Raven Idol giving you a mulch, or yeah, Naturalize is pretty bad, but sometimes you would even need to go for that. So you're forced to play mulch, so this is pretty core so far. Except the second Pharaoh Rage, it can be replaced if you don't like this card too much. Barnes, it's just a new card that was also introduced by Karazhan. It has a very sick high roll potential. If you get a Cairn or a Ragnaros or Aviana, or the dream is Ishari, you play Ishari and you pulled another Ishari, and then that Ishari pulls you a Ragnaros and so forth. It's pretty nuts. So a pretty good chance to just high roll with the Barnes. Fendril, just as you guys know, just a really sick 4-drop, probably the best 4-drop in the game, and more so in Druid because of the, it's a Druid card, so yeah, small little joke. Yeah, it's a good card nonetheless, even though it's not a York Druid version, whatever. It still has the Nourishes, the Living Roots and the Raven Idols, 2 Maya Keeper, so it's definitely enough cards to combine it with, even the Ancient of War, even though this combo is just very rarely. You usually just use Fendril for a Ref and then you're happy, or Fendril with Living Roots. You don't need Power Wild or some shenanigans like that. So Maya Keeper, it's a great ramp card. If you're a super late game focused ramp Druid deck, then yeah, ramping on 4 is completely fine as well. As you can see, we don't really run any 2-drops, 3-drops. It's just really focused on ramping and removing the board and then playing big threats. Double nourish as well for ramping, and then you run out of cards. If you ramp early, like with Innovate and Wild Growth, you're just very quickly running out of cards with a ramp druid deck. So nourish helps you a lot just to replenish. And as you can see, there's no Azure Drake in the deck. Even though we have the Living Roots, Ref and Swipe, it's just because that after the ramp, Azure Drake is just an insanely weak minion on the board. You ramp, you give up turns, you're behind on the board, and then you play a 4/4 for 5 mana. That's not really good. So you're really focused on getting those 6-drops, 7-drops, 8-drops, 9-drops, and 10-drops out. And Nourish helps you with ramping even more. So we have the Cairn. It's just, in my opinion, it's the best card in the game to ramp out. If you go for Wild Growth, Innovate, Cairn, I think it's the best minion you can play. Second best would be the Emperor, which we also play. But getting a ramp, just a super fast Cairn out is just, it is usually GG, but the game has changed so much that a lot of decks can still come back from that, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, Emperor is just insanely good in Druid overall. Moonglade Portal, this Emperor can be replaced. It's just that I love it so much because, like, the deck is based or centered around ramping, and I really want to also focus on which card I want to ramp out, and I only want to play cards that are awesome to ramp out after you get the ramp, not just play cards. For example, this is why Sylvanas got replaced. It's just to ramp out Sylvanas is just not that good. It's a 5/5 for 6 mana, which is bad stats wise, and usually the opponent will just trade it off and then use a removal. It's too easy to remove, usually doesn't steal something. It is pretty good in the mirror and against control decks later on, but to ramp it out, usually you don't have too many options in your hand. Just have to go with what you have, what your deck gives you, and even a Moonglade Portal should be good, because against aggro decks, you will be behind in life. So getting a random 6 mana minion, which has an average stat line of 5/5, and healing for 6 is insanely good value for 6 mana. So if you get an Infernal, Dread Infernal, and then heal for 6 mana, or a Bolt of Fist Augur and then heal as well for 6, that's pretty damn good. So you also don't want to play too many 6 mana cards. So as you can see with 2 Moonglade Portal, you can definitely replace one Moonglade Portal with Sylvanas. So what I can do here is just so you see, you can definitely, if you don't like this card, to have this card twice, don't like the RNG aspect of it, Sylvanas is a pretty good replacement for it. Ancient War, just to have the taunt, and it's obviously a sick card to ramp out. It's a little bit weak to Deadly Shot, but besides that, it's just seems like a must play. It's weak with the Barns together, but we have enough cards that we can just get from the Barns. But Emperor, again, another great card to get from the Barns. So Ragnaros, obviously the best 8-drop in the best neutral 8-drop in the game that you can choose from. Aviana, also insane high roll potential with the Barns, also in a ramp druid deck. If you have the mana available, you can do crazy stuff with her, especially if she survives. Ishari as well, absolute best minion to pull off from the Fendril, from the Barns. And just this, it's a 10 for 10. It's usually, you would be surprised that it's not easy to just remove a 10/10 stat minion from the board. So this is the ramp druid deck. It's pretty up to date. It's hard to improve this version of the deck. It doesn't really fit in the meta right now, just because it's so super hyper aggressive, and with the Tuskar, like for example, if you play against Shaman, he plays Tuskar Totemic and he high rolls like a Totem Golem or a Mana Tide. It's really hard for a Druid to come back in that situation, because you usually just take out one minion at a time, or you play a big minion and you force him to react. So in this meta, I'm not sure, it's not the strongest deck, but because I spent a lot of time in building this deck and talking about this deck, so I wanted to show you guys it regardless, and I hope you guys like it anyways, and see you guys in the next video.